Hey, what's up, everybody? Thanks for tuning in to Let There Be Talk. It is another episode. Let's see, what's today? Today is Thursday, the 12th of, October. Coming to you live from New York City. This episode is brought to you by my fantastic motorcycle sponsor, El Cajon Harley Davidson. Do not get a motorcycle anywhere else. Go to El Cajon Harley right now. They got all kinds of great demo bikes in there. You can go check out the new 2018 Harleys. They got some badass new stuff. They got the new Street Bob in there and the Fat Bob. Go check them out. What else they got in there? Street Glide, CVO. They got all kinds of great machines. 2018s. They've got a great service department. Everything, and they love rock and roll. Go see my boy Greg Riley. Get yourself a Harley Davidson motorcycle. All right. This is an unusual episode because I got no intro. I want to get right into it because I want the show to come out today because there's a big show tomorrow with my guest. Introduce yourself.
This is Mark Weiss.
Mark Weiss, the photographer. If you do not know this guy's work, it's pretty fucking insane. And one of the iconic things about his work that really blows me away is you shot the Guns N' Roses infamous show live at the Ritz.
Yeah, that's right. Actually, 30 years ago, probably today or this week.
Is that when it was?
30 years ago. They spent a week. They spent a week in New York. They did the acoustic set at CBGB's, and they came by my studio, which is, this is, why we're here at Grit and Glory. We're gonna have that show this week.
Yeah, you're gonna now tomorrow night. You're gonna have a big Guns N' Roses photo show here. What time's it at?
It's from 7 to 10. It's open to the public, and me and the artist who's done the silk screening. Like if you go on our Facebook. Weiss Guy Lacey, you'll see all the silk screening, all that goes into it. It's like the days of digital and just like instant gratification. Well, Steve Lacey, this artist, is amazing. Met him a few years ago, and he takes these images. It's like it's not even a darkroom. Like darkroom, it takes 10 minutes. He takes days in creating this piece of art for 40 by 60 inches. We're gonna have like 6 special pieces, and then we're gonna have some other photos of mine that never been seen before. That were taken exactly 30 years ago.
Well, now, God, that's incredible, 30 years. Now, what people don't really, I don't think, understand the magnitude of that night and the what it changed the game the next day once it was shown on MTV as game over. This band was the most dangerous band, and it was one of the few concerts I've ever seen on TV that transposed the danger. It feels like it's dangerous even when you're watching it. Sometimes you watch a concert or a comedy special and you go like, yeah, it's pretty good. But when you watch that, even to this day, it's like, what the fuck? And I've talked about that show thousands and thousands of times in my life because I saw him probably like a week later or so at the Warfield in San Francisco. And to see that band at that time is just so insane, right?
Yeah, I'd say the word dangerous is hits the nail on the head. But yeah, that show, I felt the same way. I mean, I'm in the audience, and like I wasn't sure if I should shoot the show from the stage or behind it because I couldn't get in there. And I'm like, no, I gotta dig in there with the soldiers, Right. And I grabbed my little box and I stood up on it and I just waited for the moments to happen. And I was just like, I knew I was in history. I knew history was being made that day.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, were you a fan of the band before you went to go shoot them at the Ritz? How does this happen?
Well, I first shot them about 8 months before Appetite was released. Bryn Breidenthal, who's the publicist for the record company, said, "I got this new band that I'm working on. We want to really, I don't really need to say much. You just got to check them out, and I think you're gonna like them." And she said the same thing a few years ago with Motley CRUE.
Right.
So same conversation I had, and I gave Motley their first national spread in magazine, which we can talk about later.
Yeah, we'll get into that.
But with Guns N' Roses, I did this. I set up a shoot, and they were kind of guarded, like.
It was out here in New York?
No, it was in Hollywood.
Oh, you flew out for it?
I flew out for it. Yeah.
Wow.
And it was at one of their rehearsal, where they were recording, I think, and I set up a background, and it was kind of weird because they had they had their photographer there.
Robert John.
Yeah, and he was kind of like a little standoffish, like I don't not standoffish, but he was,
he's their guy,
his guy, and I know the feeling, and it's like and Bryn really pushed for me, and the band wanted to stay loyal, but they were playing the political game, and then Bryn just said, look, just work with Mark once, and I guarantee you're gonna like him, you'll like his vibe and everything else, give him a chance.
Right.
So they agreed, and we did a shoot, and I remember Axl really wasn't ever he never really looked me in the eye. I had to coax him to look at me, and I'm not.
And that's when he's all glammed up with the hair.
Totally glammed. And,
yeah.
And I actually, funny enough, I just came from Phoenix where I shot Madam X, where I first met Sebastian.
Right.
So I used the same background, the same lighting and everything. So you can see the pictures. It looks almost the same. And Sebastian was glammed up too.
Yeah.
More glammed than Axl, but Axl was pretty glammed.
Even on the first video, Welcome to the Jungle.
Yep.
Straight up, teased up hair and everything.
And what I found it funny was like we were shooting these pictures, and then he wrote on his pants, "Glam sucks."
That's right. I remember that.
And he gave the finger.
Yeah. Now, was that on the cover of BAM? Or what was that shoot on?
I think it was Hit Parader.
Hit Parader, I remember.
It first came out on Hit Parader. I think they were on a split cover with maybe Motley CRUE or something else,
Right.
And this was before the album came out, and then I guess they liked me, and then we started. And when they came here a little bit later after some success, Bryn said, "Oh, remember that guy Mark Weiss? And he he's in New York. Why don't you go to the studio and take some pictures?"
Right.
And so they were great mood, you could imagine, New York City, and they have all these things lined up, the Ritz, CBGBs, and they came by the studio, and we had a good time.
Now, some of your photos are my all-time favorite photos of Guns N' Roses, hands down. There's the infamous CBGB's one where they're outside, Slash is hanging from the CBGB sign.
Yeah,
he's wearing
favorites.
Jordan Air Force Ones, which is you really get the look of Slash right there. And then you got that one where Slash is up against the light post sitting down.
Yes.
Those photos, and there's some in this store right now, are, and that's how I tracked you down. I stumbled into this store one day with Wes Borland from Limp Bizkit, and I start seeing the photos, and I go, holy shit, man, who shot these? I've always seen these photos. I've got to have this guy on the show. What was the shoot like back then? Because they had to be pretty fucking unorganized, right?
It's a good word, actually. It's a good word. I remember when they came to my studio in New York. Everyone was there, and we were waiting on Axl. And
still back then.
Yeah. So and he came in, and it didn't seem like they wanted to be there.
Right.
And it was kind of a quick shoot, and maybe they had other things on their mind. I don't know what was going through their heads. But Axl had his long leather jacket on.
Yeah, him and Izzy are wearing trench coats, which is hilarious. Leather trench coats. When you look at the photo at the CBGB's, both are like, you got your leather trench coat? Got mine. Okay, cool, let's go. Because, man, they look so different. In just a matter of 3 years, the looks changed so incredibly,
Yeah, when I saw them, I'm like, this is the same band? I had no idea, we shot for maybe a half hour. I really wanted to take him on the roof because I was right across from the Empire State Building, and I have the whole roof on the penthouse. And I always take the bands out there. I took them all out there, and then Axl just kind of said, he didn't even say anything. He just said, "That's enough," And I said, "All right." He goes. And then I was kind of bummed out, and I told Bryn Brianthal I was a little bummed that I didn't have more time with him. And he goes, "Well, let me talk to the guys. Maybe you can come to the CBGBs and the Ritz and all that." I said, "Yeah, let's do some more stuff."
Yeah.
And then they invited me to CBGBs, and it was like a different band. They were just having fun and
acoustic, unplugged.
Yeah, it was like
they play 1 in a million the first time, I think, or whatever. Not the first time, but I mean that's the first time I see it on a bootleg video,
Yeah, and if you watch those videos with the interviews and all that stuff in between, it's just amazing.
It's crazy, right? Like Slash's gear isn't even, they don't even have a mic for his guitar.
Yeah.
It's like a really rink-a-dink gig. Now, was Wes Arkeen around at the time then? You remember him? He was he wrote some songs with him and stuff.
No, I'm not aware of that.
Now, you're shooting film back then, which is hilarious, right? To think about, like, because you got to load and you got to make sure.
Very stressful. Very stressful.
At live shows, especially studio, it's pretty set up.
Yeah.
But as you're shooting at the Ritz, because what people don't know is they never showed the entire Ritz concert. They played a Tom Petty song, I believe, that night. I looked at the whole set list. They played a Tom Petty song. I can't remember what one it was, but I think they played about 12 songs. Was the audience absolutely going insane?
Oh, 100%.
Because when I saw them, it was like a war was going on. It was almost like a Metallica concert. People were just going crazy.
Yeah, it was totally crazy up in the rafters, because it was everyone it was like a coliseum where they would look down and there's all these people up there just kind of rooting on the Lions,
Yeah.
And there they were. There was the Lions going on stage, just like rocking it up. I think Axl dove into the crowd a couple times.
Remember that? Yeah, he got his necklace taken. He's wearing the overalls, the Harley Davidson suspenders, Yeah. That's how I know exactly what show that is when I see it, because I see the Harley suspenders, the leather pants, and the snake belt buckle, and he had the snake jacket on the encore or whatever. Yeah. And I go, that's the Ritz right there.
And I think a year later, they played there again. And I was always trying to figure out which one was which, and I had to refer to those videos.
Yeah,
that's what you got to do these days. It's amazing that it's up there. You just check it out, and
right.
Really relive that time.
I was just telling somebody yesterday. They're like, "You're so lucky you could go back and I can look at shows that I went to on YouTube, and I'm like, wow." Because when I go to concerts, I remember like the first song. I remember like the backdrop and stuff, but it's a blur because the adrenaline and everything. It's just like what back then it was full adrenaline when you're at shows, like holy shit, great. There they are. You don't just see them on YouTube and shit. It was like maybe a magazine photo, but when they came on, there's your idols. They're looking at their clothes, their equipment, and then they kick in. You're like, fuck.
Well, when me and Steve first started doing this show, getting the idea together, we came over to my house and we started looking at some old classic photos that weren't ever seen before. And Steve was a big Guns N' Roses fan, and he was just freaking out. And I'm like, oh,
that's how I am.
And then we started looking at YouTube videos. I'm trying to figure out when I shot the photos of Steven Adler with the hat on that's going to be in the gallery, and we just started out of nowhere. We just started looking on the sites on different YouTube clips, and then we saw this one thing where they did an interview. He said, "Where did you shoot that?" I said, "I think it was in Florida." He put in Florida, Guns N' Roses, 1987, the date, and we saw this footage. They were wearing the same things. I'm like, oh my God, I think this is the show. And they did this dorky interview with this dorky guy.
Yeah.
The band didn't want to do it, but this guy had access, and he was interviewing them, and then they're following him to the stage.
I seen that.
All right.
I seen that.
And I'm looking at it. I'm like, wait a minute. This is really looking more familiar.
There you are.
And then there was the flashes going off right before the stage. Motley was playing with them.
Yeah.
Or they were playing with Motley.
Right.
And they see this flash in the background. I'm like, don't tell me that's me.
Yeah.
And then the camera pans really quick, and me and Steve we froze it, and that was me. And there's the pictures that he painted this huge painting of one of those photos.
Wow.
So it's like just crazy.
I mean, that night at the Ritz, that completely changed the fucking game. Man, it's so crazy to think about. I can't believe when they came back to New York a couple months ago for the 30 years of Appetite. As much as I love the band, I also criticize them for a lot of stuff, and one of them was that they didn't do anything special at that Apollo show. And I thought, how cool would it be to not say anything, walk on and do that Ritz set list. And as they got to around the fourth or fifth song, people that were real fans would be going, these guys are doing the fucking Live at the Ritz set. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, lose your mind. Because that really is the day the band fucking, because that record comes out and it doesn't sell shit for a year.
Right.
It tanks this record. And that concert really is the one that made people go like, whoa, I got to see that. Of course, Sweet Child of Mine and the videos later on.
They had a buzz going.
Yeah, they had a buzz. But to see that, man, Friday night, be home, watch that in your house and be like, what is that?
Yeah.
You know, I was really bummed on that. Now, I'm in here and I'm looking at some of your photos and they blow my fucking mind. I don't know how old you are, but you shot Zeppelin in 75, I believe.
77.
77.
Yeah,
Okay, so
I
that's
was 17.
That's the last U.S. tour, Dragon Pants Jimmy. Your photos are fucking unreal. How do you start and how do you get your access? Because that shit's at the Garden there.
Yeah. All right. You want to know?
How old are you?
I'm 57.
57.
58.
58. Wow, you look great, man.
Oh, thanks. Thank you.
Fucking 58, dude. I'm 51, man. You look good.
Thanks.
Yeah. How do you start?
Okay. How do I start? You want to know
shooting photos?
How I got my first camera?
All that, man.
Okay.
I mean, how do you get into rock and roll? Or, like, of course, how do you get into rock and roll? Who's your band, and how come you didn't play rock and roll?
Well, I tried.
Yeah.
When I was 14. When I was 13, 14, I did two things. I mowed lawns for $5 a lawn, and I tried to be in a band. And I tried to sing. I tried to play guitar.
Where you live, in Jersey or New York?
In Jersey.
Jersey. You're Jersey rock.
Yeah, sure.
Who, like Bruce? Were you into Bruce? Because your Bruce photos knock me out.
Yeah, no, I wasn't. I was never into Bruce. I never shot Bruce in those early. I shot him in '78, but I didn't shoot him when he was accessible.
Right.
I wasn't really into rock then. I mean, I was into rock, but I didn't know about concerts until not when Bruce started,
right.
73, 74.
Yeah,
I was too young.
That early shit.
And I didn't like that. I didn't like Bruce. I mean, I liked Zeppelin and Kiss and heavy stuff, at the time. And so basically I mowed lawns for $5 a piece. And I went to this one guy's house, and I said, you need your lawn mowed. He goes, nah. He said, no. I said, well, it looks kind of long. I think you do. And he's like, he laughed a little bit. He goes, I mow it myself, but I'll tell you what, I got something for you. So he goes in his back room, and he comes back, and he has his camera. He goes, I'll tell you what, you can have this camera if you mow my lawn for a season. I'm like, all right.
Is this out of nowhere?
Out of nowhere. If I didn't knock on that door, and the fact I didn't keep it, didn't mow his lawn that week,
How crazy is that?
So that's the first camera that I actually.
And what was it? You remember?
Yeah, I still have it. It was a Bell & Howell Canon, and it was just a tank of a camera,
right?
And a lens, and I just took it and I started figuring out how to develop pictures.
But did you give a fuck about it, or why didn't you just sell it to buy a bass or something? You know what I mean?
No, I was like, well, okay, it's just something,
Yeah.
I kind of like the idea of maybe taking a photo and developing it, and I don't know, it was thrown my way. I figured there was a reason.
Yep.
And obviously there was.
Yeah.
And I used to develop pictures, take pictures of my brother riding his motorcycle and my dog, and those were all my early subjects. And I did that for a year or two, and I just loved the excitement of developing and putting a piece of paper inside of chemicals, and
you were doing your own development.
Yeah, I would do that. I learned how to do that.
Darkroom shit with the chemicals, swishing it around. There it was.
I loved it. It was like magic. I used to like magic back then.
Yeah.
So to me, that was magic.
It really was. It really is.
It's a white piece of paper. You stick it in this chemicals. Where does that happen?
I don't still get it. Right. You switch.
It's light going on paper.
I know, but it's just crazy.
It is crazy. Yeah. So I did that for about a year and a half. I got bored of it, these pictures you're going to take your brother and your dog, and family events. So I put it away. It was basically a bookshelf for about a year and a half, until my brother took me to a concert. And
your first concert?
Yeah, my first concert.
Kiss?
No, it wasn't Kiss. It was Sly and the Family Stone.
Whoa!
In '74. I didn't take my camera there. And then
That's a rad show.
It was cool.
Oh my God!
He only played 30 minutes because it rained. It was an awful show. It got stopped early. It's one of those Sly and the Family Stone shows that are on the worst concert experience ever.
Right, but still, you saw Sly.
I saw Sly, and I actually 10 years later I did a photo shoot with him.
Really?
In a hotel room, for a magazine.
Wow.
1983. But going back to that, so I started going to concerts with my brother. So I went to there, then I went to Crosby, Stills, Nash & Young at Roosevelt Stadium.
Whoa!
When David Crosby announced Richard Nixon resigning,
wow, yeah.
And I remember that being a moment, and all the crowd. And then I remember seeing like one of my friends who I knew was a photographer and used to sneak his cameras into concerts, Kenny Ref.
Sneaking in,
and he was there with a couple chicks by his side, and he was walking. He just happened, out of all those people, he just happened to be walking by me and my brother. And I'm like, where are you going? He goes, I'm going down to the front and take some pictures. I'm like, wow, that's cool. Like 3 months later, I went to the family function. My parents were friends with his parents.
Yeah.
And those pictures, of course, we still see Nash Young. We're hanging up in his room, and I'm like, wow, that's pretty cool.
Wow.
He's got chicks, and he manages to get himself up in the front.
Yeah.
And then my brother took me to see Eric Clapton at Nassau Coliseum in 1975.
Wow.
And
slow hand tour?
I don't even know.
Right.
I don't know. And went there. He got like really close seats. Brought my camera in.
You snuck it in?
I snuck it in.
How do you sneak it in back then? Because back then it was just a quick, brief.
It wasn't hard at that show. I actually, after I started taking a few pictures, I got shut down. But I kept that roll of film, and it's on my Rockseat auction. It's on my site that I do sell it.
Yeah. Wow. Your first photos, you still sell it.
Oh yeah.
Well, I gotta look at that.
He's got the jumpsuit on, the SO suit, and the little hat.
Yeah.
So that was my first experience, and then from there.
Now, when you're at the shows, are you into the bands? Like I'm seeing Clapton, or are you just going hanging with your brother? Because that's a fucking monumental show, Clapton.
Yeah. No, my brother used to be in a band. He used to play, Cream, Sunshine My Love, and all that.
Yeah.
No, I loved rock and roll back then. I didn't have a focus on it yet. I didn't know who was who. I was just kind of learning my way through my brother, and I kind of came in my own way when I started going to concerts at the Garden, like, Peter Frampton, Aerosmith, I was 15, 16. That's when I started sneaking my cameras in.
Yeah.
And
cameras?
Oh, camera.
Yeah. And how many rolls of film would you bring with you? Like a couple?
Yeah, in the beginning, just 2 or 3.
Right.
And I would I would dismantle, because they were searching for cameras back then.
Right.
In the mid to late 70s.
The green jackets, the green coats down there at the Garden.
Yeah. So what I would do is I would dismantle my camera. I'd have my fry boots. I'd stick a lens in there, and I'd put film in the other one.
Yeah.
And then my camera body, I would hang around my neck with a sweatshirt.
Uh-huh.
When I got in, I jumped over the barricade, the whole thing. I would, put it together. And before I did that, I used to buy my way into the concert with giving the security guard $5.
Really?
So that's all I got in. I got in for $5, maybe 7 or 8. And I used to get in at every show. And then,
$5 on the side door or something?
Led Zeppelin. Yeah, no, the regular door. You have to get by all the other security guards that look at them. So you have old ticket stubs and you show it to them.
Yeah.
And when you get to the guy that rips it, you go you give him a 5, and he's like,
whoa.
They don't even look at it. They it could be a fake $5.
No shit.
Yeah, one time they turned me down and they wanted more. He goes, come on, what are you kidding me? Get out of here.
Wow.
I gave it 20.
Yeah. Yeah, like I used to do the old empty guitar case.
Oh,
I just walk right backstage.
That's a good one. Yeah, I wish I knew.
A guitar case? Yeah. They just figured, they don't even look for a badge or anything.
An old laminate or something.
I would cut the cassette covers out and laminate it.
Right.
You know what I mean?
You did that?
Like Billy Squire, there it is. It's a laminate. And I'd just roll right through with the case and be in. And then
How old were you? How were you?
13, 14. And boy,
13 or 14?
Oh, yeah. 15, 16, all the way the whole time. But you'd be shaking in your goddamn boots, man.
I
don't know
what.
what.
Every time. Every time I even went near one of those security guards, I'd be shaking.
The adrenaline, right? And then I would just set the case down and just hang out like I was supposed to be there.
Yeah.
And then eventually you're there so much, they just know you. Like, oh, that's Dean.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, so I used to do that, and then when the lights go out, I used to jump over the barricade.
You mean from the seats down onto the floor?
From the seats down to the floor,
right?
And then I used to try to find a spot, and then I would collect ticket stubs from other shows. And the Garden had different color schemes,
right?
And you always want to get those, so after the show, I would go on the floor and grab all those ticket stubs from that show. And then
for the next time.
Wow. Whether it was Zeppelin playing 5 nights and it says Zeppelin on it, so that's good.
Yep.
But I used to do grab Zeppelin ticket stubs and go into a Frampton show. But it's all about the color.
Right.
You show it to them. You just try to watch. You try to watch the you go into with a group that has like 3 or 4 people in it, and you want to blend in with them, and they're going like that with the real ones, and then you're doing the same thing like you're one of them. So I would do that, but when that didn't work, I would jump over the barricade, and then when the lights went out, and then everyone would be standing up on their, on the floor, and then where the aisle is, I would like dislodge the seats.
Yeah.
And shove him over so the security can't go down anymore and kick you out. And then I had my little spot maybe 20 feet off, and I would, like that Zeppelin shot that you saw, like that's 10 rows back, and I shot the whole show, and
and that's during the Peter Grant era, where, if you watch Song Remains the Same, and they're fucking like, you've got guys selling fucking T-shirts down there. They're for you cunts. Like, they're out hunting. Like, there's famous stories where they find bootleggers, because I've got every Zeppelin show on bootleg.
Right.
Every one,
Yeah.
And that means... like out of everyone done, there was probably 30, 40 people that got caught, but they would sneak in full tape machines back then, man. That's crazy, right?
Well, what I started doing was, when I started getting some good pictures, like when I was like in 11th grade, I would go to the concerts and then sell them out of my high school locker, for a buck a piece. So I did that for a while. It was cool. Made a few bucks, met a lot of girls,
Yeah. When I would go to shows, there was 3 guys, and I've been looking for this one guy forever. He was deaf, and he would shoot at these shows. He had the most incredible Dan the Green photos of all time. I've still tried to find him. He lived in Petaluma.
You know his name? No.
No, because it was one of those guys. Whenever you go to a show, right around the front door, there'd be these guys, and they'd have 11 by 14s in these Kodak cardboard things, and they'd just be sitting on the ground, and you'd go through them, and they'd be like $5 a piece.
Guys,
yeah, and I'd go through them and go, I'll take these 3, and I'd frame them in my house.
Wow.
Big giant Angus Youngs with the fucking sweat coming off, and like real crushing photos. And I'd buy them every show. I'd bring money, I'd get a shirt, and then the photos. I'd get the photos after, because I didn't want to carry them in the show.
Sure.
And then I would have them like perfect all the way home on the bus ride, and I'd frame them up, man.
Yeah, I'm actually looking for photographers like that, because there was a lot of them,
there
that
was.
did what I did, and they didn't do anything with it like I did.
Right.
But there's these photos out there, and I want to try to find them. So if anyone listening that has any iconic photos from the 70s and 80s, like, definitely, check out Roxine Auctions, and, we can set up a site for you, and...
Yeah, because there was just a guy today that posted up, look at these. He posted up the Palladium AC/DC show.
Okay.
Look at these fucking photos, dude.
Yeah.
I mean, this is AC/DC on the Let There Be Rock, and it's just incredible, these photos. And the guy had backstage access too. Look at this.
So who is it?
I don't know. I'll show it to you when I'm done.
We'll do a Roxine Auctions with him.
It's just crazy, man, because I am an absolute nut for rock photography, and I think, and also great photography of any kind, but it's really rock and roll, because what you're capturing is something that we will never see again. The rock giants, and as we lose rock giants, as we just lost Tom Petty, these are pieces of time. When I walked into this store, or when I walk into a store that like John Varvatos, or somewhere where there's photos, I stop for a minute, and it fucking floors me how much these people have moved me and inspired me in life. You know what I mean? And it's like this Jimmy Page over here in the dragon pants. Yeah. You're not going to get a goddamn rock star anymore to wear dragon pants.
I keep waiting, though,
I'm not one of those guys that says there's no good music anymore, but there really isn't any rock star anymore.
Yeah, it's a lifestyle, but there's got to be. This stuff, you got to do the whole thing. You got to wear the clothes like the Dragons, and it's rock and roll.
I believe in it. And I subscribe to it, because it's so, you got, like if you look at Joe Perry and you did the Steven Tyler when he wore that striped suit, that kind of shit. Not only do you think about, like I think about everything that happened from that. You shot photos. Somebody made that outfit. for
Yeah.
Steven Tyler.
Yeah.
Somebody made his boots. Somebody made Jimmy's dragon pants. Where are these people? I want to interview the lady that made the dragon pants. I heard she lives in L.A. somewhere.
You should.
You know what I mean? That kind of
Yeah.
people, somebody made this fucking amplifier or whatever,
Yeah.
all that shit.
That's
The
all.
backdrops of
Yeah.
those bands. That G&R giant backdrop on the Night at the Ritz show. You know what I mean? Who made that? That kind of
Yeah,
stuff.
what's the story behind it?
It's
I mean,
all,
it's all good
if you
stuff,
look at
yeah.
all the stuff that's employed from rock and roll, it's insane. And it's all art, man. Clothing, backdrops, album covers, photos,
Yeah, it's all becoming more precious as the years go on.
It
too,
really
you know?
is.
It's just,
I mean, my dream is to have the whole house of just incredible rock photos. You know what I mean?
we'll get you some.
Yeah. I need about 20 of yours.
Okay.
Now, I wanted to talk to you, well, before we go on any longer, we need to get your website together.
Okay.
Because your website is too confusing.
The Weiss Guy Gallery one?
Yeah.
Yeah, well, that was done in the very beginning, and that's kind of like it's just my show and tell. you
I know, but we need to get it because your photos
Yeah.
are fucking iconic, man.
Yeah.
It needs to be your name and then a drop bar of every band. You hit the band, and there's the photos,
I
dude,
hear
because
you.
your photos are hard to find. As I had my photographer buddy yesterday, I was turning him on to you. He's going to come to your show on Friday, Marcus Price.
Saturday.
Saturday. He shoots big comedians and stuff,
Okay.
which is great. But your photos need to be seen way more than they are being seen.
Yeah,
You know
I
what
agree,
I mean?
yeah.
I believe in that because in L.A., are you in that gallery in L.A. at all?
Which one?
The one on Sunset?
Music Head?
Yeah.
He's got some of my stuff there, yeah, but not a big presence here.
It's got to be bigger in L.A.
I know,
because
yeah.
your stuff, L.A. is where people buy. L.A. still believes in rock and roll.
All right.
You notice that?
Yeah.
People will walk
I miss
in.
LA. Yeah, I miss the Sunset Strip. It was a lot of fun.
Did you ever live out there?
No. I was out there a lot though. Like when all the bands used to do videos and so I used to go out there and spend like months. I stayed at Don Dawkins' house. I had keys. Kevin Dubrow, he gave me keys to his house. So
Wow.
I would just go there and I go there for one job, and then I'd end up finding this one, and then there's a new band. Hey, come shoot us. You can hang out with us for a week, and next thing you know, I'm there for months.
So you're out bootlegging, shooting photos, gangster style. And how does it eventually become professional? Does somebody like pro see your photos? How does this happen?
Well, it's all because of I got arrested at a Kiss concert. So in December they did like 3 shows. And
Yeah.
I went
At that garden?
at the Garden. So I would
77?
77.
So live too.
Yep.
Wow.
So I would go there the first night, take pictures, and then the next 2 nights I would stand in front and sell pictures. I
Right.
mean, I knew it was illegal, but it was fun. It was a kick.
Yeah.
And I would just run when the cops came, and one of the cops grabbed me. I guess Gene wasn't happy with people.
Bill O'Coin wasn't happy, the
Right.
manager.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
Ironically enough, who was soon to be my wife, Susan Farrell, was working at Bill O'Coin's office when I was getting arrested at a Kiss concert.
Wow.
We met like 7 years later in an elevator in New York
Yeah.
when I was having a meeting with Bill O'Coin
Wow.
for Billy Idol.
Holy shit.
That's how I met Sue in the elevator and the whole thing, and we have 2 kids, and
Yeah.
we're not together anymore, but
Yeah. Hey, that's
yeah,
rock
so
and roll
everything for a
too.
reason. So, but anyway,
So you get arrested.
so I get arrested, and I went to jail overnight with all the shirt sellers and the.
You're just in a
bootleggers.
holding tank?
Yeah, in a holding tank, and the guy says, if you want your pictures back, you got to come back, appear before the judge, and this and that. I said, just hold on, take them. I didn't come back.
Yeah.
But then I was like, what am I going to do? So I just went to Circus Magazine the next day with my stuff.
Wow.
I didn't know anybody. I was, just a kid, and just went there, knocked on the door.
Were they in New York?
They were in New York.
Which, by the way, until Rip Magazine, Circus was the best magazine of all time.
It
I don't
was
care what
cool.
anybody says. Hit Parader was okay.
Right.
And then you had the other one. What was it called? Cream.
Cream.
Okay.
Yeah, a little new
But
wavy.
Circus
Yeah.
really went all out once rock really hits with the
Yeah.
cover photos, the centerfold.
Yeah.
I got a Circus with a centerfold of Angus Young, mint condition.
Mm-hmm.
It is rad.
Well, that's what happened with me. So I saw the art director, and he's like, I like what you're doing, but you can't shoot available light. You got to shoot with a flash. You need Kodachrome. We like to use centerfold shots. It's got to be nice and crisp. And I'm thinking, like, the flash, you don't see the ambient of the light. It's not, but I'm like, all right, I'll keep it in mind. And when I think I have something, I'll drop it off.
But now, are they going to offer to get you passes, or you
No.
still got to sneak the shit
yeah,
in?
Yeah, I'm still sneaking
So
in.
all those guys that were shooting for mags were sneaking their shit in?
Oh, no. I'm sure that they had
Right.
passes. At that time, I didn't have a pass.
Right.
But he said, if you can get some good shots and show us that you can do it, then maybe we'll send you out on assignment.
Oh, I gotcha.
So I'm...
It's like a test.
Yeah. So I'm like, all right, let me just do what they say. Aerosmith played at 1978 in Giant Stadium with Ted Nugent, I think Journey, and Motley Rush. Yeah.
That's basically like a Day in the Green style lineup,
I think it was the first show at Giant Stadium. over
Right,
there.
right.
So I go in there and I sneak my camera in, the whole thing, and I kind of just forgot about it. But then I got a call from the secretary who I stayed friends with, and she's like, do you have any pictures of Aerosmith? I said, yeah, I just shot him like last week, because they weren't letting anyone shoot him, and they really need photos. They want to use it for a spread and a whole bunch of stuff. And they said, did you shoot it on Kodachrome? With a flash. I said, well, I didn't use a flash, but it was during the day, so I did shoot Kodachrome. She goes, well, bring it over.
Now, what is the difference of Kodachrome? Because I love Kodachrome. I remember I saw a band, Stone Fox, in San Francisco. They shot a full Haight Street fair in Kodachrome, and it looked like 60s surfer film almost. It was really high pop and contrast.
Right.
What is Kodachrome?
It's a real poppy, rich colors, reds, and flesh tones, really pure. Where Ektachrome, and it's a like a low speed film, so it lets you get the non-grain.
Right.
High speed film, it gives you more blues for some reason, like Ektachrome, and that's what I used to shoot when I used to shoot concerts, because you want to shoot the available light, but you had to shoot not with a flash,
Right, because you're sneaking the shit in.
It'd be grainy, but it's also you want to shoot available light because it's
beautiful.
the ambiance of what the band wants you to see,
Right.
Not flash and
Yeah.
But Circus had their rules and they wanted flash photos, so I would kind of do eventually after I started working for them, I would do a combination. I would drag the background so the backlight would drag onto the back of their hair.
Now, how are you learning that stuff? Because, when I shoot, I love shooting with my, iPhone or whatever. But how are you, when you're first starting, because the guys are moving, how are you not getting blur and all that? It's just practice?
Yeah, just trial and error.
Because all the fucking settings and everything, it's
Yeah.
all manual. It's not
Yeah.
like now where you just shoot away.
Oh,
Like
it is, yeah.
Ross Halfin says, any fucking clown could be a photographer. Now there's look at my photos, you
Right,
know?
right.
But back then, you had to make adjustments. You couldn't look at the screen and go,
I
this is
know.
no
It's
good.
crazy.
You just,
Very
you got
stressful.
home the next day and went, these all suck.
Yeah, then you go home and you develop them, and you make sure that you don't. It's black and white. If it's black and white, you make sure that you could screw it up in the tank. You could. I've done that before, where there was images where they were stuck together because I didn't do it right.
Right.
But you learn. It's trial and error. So yeah, I just
So you get them the Aerosmith
I
photos?
get them the Aerosmith photos. I left them with them. Didn't think about anything. And next thing you know, I see there's an issue on Circus, 1978. I think it was October, and the Beatles were on the cover. And there was a little tagline like Aerosmith photos inside or something. So I said, all right, let me check it out. I opened it up, and it was a centerfold of Steven Tyler. And I said, that's my shot. He got the scarf going. It was a full shot. It was the outdoors. And there was my name on the bottom.
Wow. And a check?
Yeah, I got a check eventually. Yeah, I think I still have it framed.
How much?
I think it was like $100.
That's fucking great money back then. $100?
Yeah, that bought me, some film.
Now, do you think the band ever looked at it and went, how the fuck they get this photo? We said no photographers. You know what I mean?
Well, that's what happened. So then they kept pumping Ted Nugent photos, and which I turned the page again. There was one of my Ted Nugent photos.
Oh, I got to see those. He's wearing the loincloth.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the brown boots. He's got the fucking Birdland guitar.
Yeah.
Oh, did he swing out on the Vine there?
Not on that one. I think that was a couple years later.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I would be taking pictures of so anyway, so supposedly Steven saw the photos in the magazine and they want to know who the photographer was, you know? And so I get a call from Lieber Krebs.
Yeah.
Next thing you know it, I'm doing all their artists, you know?
Yeah.
They had the Scorpions, they had...
They weren't mad that you snuck in.
Well, no, they saw that
It was great.
Yeah, because in their mind, you know, that was their dark period. You know, they were really drugged out at the time.
Yeah.
You know, they didn't want photographers because they thought they looked like crap. But
Yeah,
they really didn't. They looked
but
cool.
that's when
It
they
was
looked
rock
the
and roll.
coolest, right?
know.
I mean, when you look at that era of '78, there's a lot of Day in the Green photos that Baron Woolman shot and stuff, and Tyler's just all fucking crazy in that outfit. Joe Perry's got that incredible BC Rich red, 10-string guitar, and he's wearing like brown cords or something. You go, this, and
The streak in his hair.
yeah, and he's wearing a flannel. He almost looks like just a early hipster Fogerty dude. And you're like, this shit is badass, man.
Right,
I mean, that's the shit I look at for hours. And then you look at the crowd. You start looking at the crowd, like if they shoot from the stage down into the crowd.
Yeah.
You see the kids with the sideburns and headbands. And
I used to always I used to turn around and shoot the crowds.
yeah,
You know?
remember those crochet hats that had the Budweiser or Coors cans cut and crocheted in there? A guy would
They don't
be
make
wearing
those anymore?
No. A guy would be wearing one of those. Another guy would be wearing a fucking Hang 10 fucking visor,
Yeah.
I mean, that, and smoking Colombian with seeds.
Yeah.
Were you doing drugs back then?
No, just a little bit.
Yeah. I mean, a little bit. I mean, everybody talks drugs, but I mean, that's amazing, the drugs that were going on at those concerts, right?
Yeah. Actually, I sold, I was at a Grateful Dead concert and I was selling my Jerry Garcia photos, and some guy gives me, he goes, I'll give you this hit of acid for a photo.
Yeah.
I'm like, all right. My friend was into it, so I said, all right. I didn't even know what he didn't say acid. He said a tab or whatever.
Yeah.
I wasn't tuned into that. I had no idea what it was.
Were you like a nerd?
No, but I smoked pot.
Right.
Other stuff, but I didn't really acid. I don't know. I just didn't. I didn't go there. We eventually. I showed it to him, and he's like, "Let's do it." I'm like, "All right." I didn't think anything of it, So, did it on the way home, Then I said, "Okay." I was starting to feel something. I didn't want to give in. I just said, he goes, "You feeling anything?" I said, "No, not really." I was like bullshitting him. So we ended up going to my dark room to develop the pictures.
Yeah.
From the day before, and I'm starting to see stuff.
Yeah.
And he was tripping out, and I'm looking through the fine-grained focuser, where you look through this microscope, and there's these little dots in there.
Yeah.
That's all you're supposed to see. And I'm looking in there, and I see all these people yelling, waving to me, "Mark!" Like I was on stage, and like they were like, so that was my thing. My friend's still saying, "You okay? Everything cool?" Meanwhile, he's doing his own thing.
Yeah.
And it was like 5 a.m, and he's like, "Well, I'm gonna go home now, because if you're not feeling it, I don't know. I'm gonna go home." So he goes home. I stay there, and I'm like, "Damn, why did he leave?"
Yeah.
I'm by myself now. And I crawl into bed with in between my parents and start talking their ear off, and they were just waking up, and I'm like, "What?" I gotta get out of here. Took a shower. Best sex I ever had in there. By myself.
Yeah. Just tripping balls.
Whole thing, And then we ended up going to the beach. We ran out on the. He comes back.
Yeah.
And we end up going to. We end up going. He goes, "We gotta do something. He goes, let's go to the beach." I go, "I can't drive." He goes, "I can drive." Oh. So he takes my car. We start driving. We run out of gas. And we take the back roads. We run out of gas in the middle of nowhere.
Oh, no.
We start knocking on people's doors. "You got any gas?" And he's like, "No, we have oil and gas." I said, "We'll take the oil out." He's like,
"Yeah, you're just
up,
tripping." Yeah.
We end up getting in a car with a bunch of hippies. They take us to get gas. We lost the car. We couldn't find the car. It was like weren't sure which road to walk back at. We ended up taking the right road. We get in the car. We get to the beach. And we're like, no one was around us. You know, it was just us, and the next thing you know, like an hour later, we're up and there's all these people around. It reminded me of like House of the Holy, like that album cover.
Yeah, yeah.
You know? And
Just
that was my little story.
Straight
Like,
fucking
I never did it again.
Grateful Dead acid right there.
Well, then I started freaking out. I was like, when is this going to stop, you know?
Yeah.
Like, and then you hear stories like people...
Flashbacks.
They're like that for their whole lives, and, you know, you fucked up your life now.
Yeah, yeah.
So I was like, all right, I'm not doing this again. It was a little scary at the end.
So you start shooting the Scorps and all those guys that...
yeah, and Joan Jett was Liebert management.
And so now you're getting passes and shooting real.
Oh,
right?
yeah. Once the circus thing happened, when Van Halen, one of my first assignments was Van Halen, 79.
Ooh, 79 Van Halen
Convention
too.
Hall. Yeah.
Whoa.
Asbury.
Convention Hall?
Yeah, and then I had another centerfold in there, and they liked me, and they started, like, you know...
When you're shooting Van Halen, are you fucking losing your mind or what? Because now we're getting into, like, a whole different, like... Here comes Eddie Van Halen. We're getting into, like, full-blown rock concert show, you know, Diamond Dave. You know what I mean? Are you just like, wow, rock is...
This is like, these are the guys you want to hang out with.
Yeah.
You know, these are the guys that you want to, you know, hang out with. And
Are you starting to hang with the bands?
yeah, I started to, yeah.
Like, who were you hanging with back then?
Well, I just started, that was one of my first backstage experiences, and I met Eddie and Michael, and they were just really cool. So it was just, you know, hello, how do you do? But then shortly after that, like that next year, like 80, 81, you know, I guess Ozzy was like, you know, when I started shooting him.
Oh, yeah, on the Randy Rhoads?
Yeah.
Wow.
I started doing pictures with Ozzy, so that was, you know, all their opener bands I used to hang out with.
Did you see Randy Rhoads a bunch of times? I saw him twice. Supposed to see him 3 times. Yeah,
a couple times. Yeah, I did one of the when he passed. Sadly, Rolling Stone used my photo of him like on the obituary.
Oh, really?
Without a guitar, just him like looking in the camera. We shot at the Capitol Theater in Passaic. Like,
what kind of guy was he? Pretty quiet?
I didn't really get to know him because he was a quiet guy. You know?
Right. Now, were there any dicks you were shooting back then? Like, oh, this guy, man. Like I mean, because there had to be some rock star shit going on back then, right?
Yeah, I'd say my only bad experience really was with, you know, I forget what year. Danzig did an album with Mother. What?
Oh yeah, the first one.
Yeah,
the first.
So I got hired to do the photos for inside.
Oh no shit!
Yeah, it's like a gatefold.
Oh yeah, that's great photos in there.
So they came to my studio. They hired me for that, and they were just kind of. I never met them before. They were just kind of standing there, and I would just.
John Christ, Erie Vaughn, and what's his name? Chuck Biscuits on drums.
Right.
That's the band, the classic lineup.
Yeah.
Smoking lineup.
So they're just standing there, and they're not doing anything. I'm like, you know, and they were like kind of like leaning back, and my job was just to make them look good.
Yeah. No double chins, no weird shadows.
Yeah, make the posture right, you know, and they weren't doing anything. Like, I could have took one photo, and we could have been done, and, I needed to give the record company more than that, you know.
Yeah.
So I started like telling them what to do, you know, move a little this way, the lighting looks good here, you know, just trying to gain their trust and confidence is what you got to do when you first meet a band for the first time.
Right.
And show them a Polaroid, see how it looks, and then say, oh, look, you know, you did that.
You're slouching here, it looks terrible.
I told you to do that, now look at it. Doesn't it look better? And then you gain their trust.
Right.
So with them, they didn't want to look at the Polaroids, and they just said, shoot the pictures, and I'm shooting them. I'm like, okay, I got to do something. So then I started moving them around a little bit, like, you know, starting like with, I don't know, one of the guys, and moving my way down to Glenn. And when I got to Glenn, the guys were letting me move them. I would literally have to like grab their shoulders, and like shake them a little, you know.
Yeah.
Make a joke out of it, like kid around a little bit.
Yeah. Come on, guys.
Like tickle them a little, you know.
Right.
I didn't do the tickling thing with them yet because they didn't seem like they were the tickling type.
Yeah, you don't want to be tickling Danzig's crew.
Yeah, if it was
they're all muscled up.
Stephen Piercy, you know, he could go for a little tickle. You know?
Yeah.
Get away with it. You know, Don Dokken, I think, you know, he encourages the tickle.
Oh, Don Dokken, man, he's a tripper. So what happens?
All right, so I get to Glenn, and, you know, I'm taking my time with each guy, and I get to Glenn, third in line, and right before I touched him, he said, don't touch me.
Wow.
I'm like, what? He goes, don't touch me. Just go take the pictures. Okay.
Yeah.
I think I took 5 more. I said, all right, we're done.
Oh.
But, you know, the other guys listened to me, and we got a good shot.
Right, right.
And they used it for they used it for it.
Yeah, man.
Oh,
Wow.
and then the years later, they were playing at the Count Basie Theater in Red Bank, and they were playing, and I heard Glenn didn't, because the next few days, like the record company, the publicist said, well, what did you do to Glenn?
Yeah.
He goes, because he don't like you or something. And I says, I don't know. I don't have a clue. I go, he wouldn't let me touch him.
Right.
You know?
Yeah.
He goes, oh, no, you weren't supposed to, you shouldn't have done that. I'm like,
Yeah.
I didn't know. No one told me. He wouldn't let me do it. That's my job to, make him look good.
Right.
So then anyway, years later, maybe 10 years later, he was playing in Red Bank, the Count Basie Theater, and there was, I got a photo pass, and I went to the front door to try to get the photo pass, and the guy said, "There's no, your name's on here, but it's crossed off." I'm like, really? He goes, "That's weird." He goes, "All right, well, let me go sort it out. Let me go on the bus, and knock on the bus door and see what the deal is." I said, "I did their album." I'm thinking like, I did one of their biggest album cover photo, and there's a photo, and
right.
You think they would, even though I touched him or whatever, he would be over it by now.
Yeah.
And I knocked on the door, and the tour manager, who was actually, I think he used to be the tour manager for Van Halen, and he knew me. And I told him what happened. He goes, let me go see what's going on. So he goes back in, and I guess he talks to Glenn. Mark Weiss is out there, and he goes, I ain't going on if he's in that building.
Wow.
And I'm like, all right, I guess I made an impression.
What a fucking weirdo, man, right? I'm not going on if that guy's in the building. It's so funny that he stood his ground, but they still used your photos. Like if he felt that way, he should have said, we're not using those photos for the record. Like his whole life, he has to look at your photos. That's a guy that touched me.
No, that didn't touch me.
Yeah, right, yeah. Now, you've done a lot of album covers, right?
A handful, yeah.
That's got to be pretty prestigious.
Now
you did. Let's go through them.
Yeah.
You did Twisted Sister.
Yeah, that was my first
Come Out
one.
and Play?
Yeah. No, Stay Hungry with the
Stay
bone.
Hungry.
With
You
the
did
bone.
Stay Hungry, dude.
That's my first cover.
One of the greatest records, the greatest Twisted Sister record, but the greatest record to come out from that era.
Yeah.
Stay Hungry. Let's get into that shoot.
Okay,
Now, he's
yeah.
wearing the kind of dinosaur-looking, bones and stuff.
Right. Well, their manager called me up and said, we want you to, D wants you to shoot the cover. We want a rock photographer.
Yeah.
At the time, I was in all the magazines, and they didn't want like the political record company photographer. They wanted a rock photographer. And at that point, I was making a name for myself. I did a lot of little kind of concept-y photo shoots, and D, he called me up and he told me the concept.
He had the concept?
Yeah, him and Animal Mendoza.
Right.
I think it was his idea. Or it might have. I forget which one, but I talked to both of them about it, and I said, okay. They want to build a set, so they told me what they wanted. The original idea was to have the 5 of them on one side of the room without makeup, and on the other side with makeup.
Oh yeah.
So they wouldn't, not Photoshop because they didn't have that back then.
Right.
They would, put it in there.
So before and after.
Yeah. So I would make this room, and which was the set, and I got these little spool of went to warehouse. I just got some props. I got like a little rat. We stuffed that it was a stuffed rat. And then the day of the shoot, I got this. I went to the deli and I got this bone.
Yeah.
And I just saw it. I said, how much is that bone? He goes, you could have it,
Yeah.
And then we put the bone in the shot, and we did the shoot. And most of the time, the guys were just kidding around and laughing and not taking the shoot seriously, And D was getting pissed off,
Yeah.
And so I just kind of went through the motions and, all right, I got to do what I got to do. I got to put the guys over here, and then do it again without makeup over here. And the room, it ended up that the room was kind of too small for 10 people.
Right.
So it looked kind of cluttered and stuff. So that idea didn't work for more than one reason. That was one. The other one was I didn't get the vibe that I wanted from them, and it didn't really come across.
Right.
But so we called the shoot. You know, we were there till like, you know, for like a good 12, 13 hours with the band, doing individuals with makeup, without makeup, and then they were all leaving. I said, look, you know, I said, D, do you want to stay around and do some individuals? I asked them all. I said, let's do some individuals, you know?
Yeah.
And they were like, nah, we had enough. So they all left. And D's like, I'm staying.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
So I said, okay, cool. So everyone left. He's like, let's wait till everyone leaves. So everyone left. This is like 3 a.m. And he starts, you know, I said, D, you know, I don't think we got it.
Yeah.
You know, I said, I wasn't feeling it. D wasn't even giving me what I needed. You know, he didn't release himself. You know,
right.
I really want him to get in the persona of being this animal.
Yeah,
know,
stay hungry, man.
You know, and there was too much. It wasn't D's fault. It wasn't my fault. It was just there was too much controlled stuff, like with the bands. All right, the band's got to be here and they got to be there, and so everyone's, you know,
it wasn't organic.
Yeah, everyone's got a kidding around, and they were ruined the vibe, and I just had to make sure I get the shots to give the record company, because it was like a, you know, built set and a lot of money went into it, and so then D started, like, you know, kind of getting restless, and then I said, come on, D, you know, like, get crazy, you know.
Yeah.
And I threw the bone at him, and he just took the bone and he started whacking the wall with it and making animal noises. You know.
Yeah, yeah.
The police actually came, and they, what the hell's going on up there? You know.
Really?
It was a studio in New York City, you know, where people would live too. And you know, we told them it was funny, you know. But then we shot 36 frames, and on the last frame was the shot that we used.
Wow, the last one.
Yeah, I sent it, and I sent them. I sent it to the record company. I didn't know what they were going to use. I didn't know the politics of it or anything like that. But it ended up that photo being on the cover by itself almost broke up the band.
Really?
Yeah, I mean, they tell the story over and over. I didn't even know the story until that, because it was supposed to be a band photo, and here D got him on the front, and you know, they went along with it. You know, they all went along with it, and it ended up getting all this. You know, it was like he was the Alice of the Alice Cooper band.
Right,
you know?
right.
Here's D Snyder. He's Twisted Sister, you know.
Yep.
And you know, there was a lot of
egos deflated.
Yeah, just a lot of. It's supposed to be a band. You know, I think D was like not the last person to be in the band, but he wasn't an original member.
No. He's like the 8th singer.
Yeah.
You know, but he wrote that entire record himself, which is crazy.
He did, and you know, we did good. We did. You know, he took me to the PMRC with him. I was his photographer. This is the first. You know,
whoa, you went to that?
Yeah, oh yeah, I went to PMRC.
Whoa, with Tipper Gore and all that bullshit.
Oh, yeah. I'm in the video clips. If you look on the TV, like
really,
just like guy with long hair walking behind Frank Zappa, and
wow,
know, I was in the back with them, and I flew with D over there.
What was that scene like, man? Was it tense or was it goofy? Like, did they think this is just because what that really did? And if people don't realize back then, Tipper Gore and what's his name from the Beach Boys. Also, what's his? He was like with Tipper Gore. He was into it.
Yeah.
You know, like they wanted records labeled that were offensive, which later on became a genius move for all these bands. You wanted the one with the label on it, you know.
Yeah.
As a kid, you know, it was like, do not have this. I've got to have that. But what was that like being there?
It was just, I don't know, we kind of felt special, you know? It's like, here we are, like, long hairs walking into all these people. It's like, and for me, it was a trip because, like, there's all these photographers, you know, that are news photographers, and here I'm there, and D's wearing a T-shirt with my photo on it of him.
Yeah.
You know, and I'm feeling kind of special, too, you know, walking behind him. And then as Tipper and everyone else starts talking about, they start flashing photographs, like how could, you know, this person do that? And like there's a picture of Ozzy with a knife in Ziggy's head that I had to pose for, and had fake blood coming out, and it said "Have a nice day," you know. So I mean, he goes, "What sick individual would think of that?" And I'm thinking, like, that was my idea. So I'm sitting on the other end. Ozzy didn't. I just said, "Ozzy, hold this."
Yeah.
You know, it's just it's showbiz, you know. It's
yeah,
like,
man.
Come on. It's like
it's just like horror
movies.
films,
Yeah.
you know. It's so dumb, man. It was like here it was the '80s, and all of a sudden we're back in the '50s, you know.
Right.
Burn these Beatles records and Elvis records. Now you did Slippery When Wet.
Yeah.
What else did you do covers? You did Come Out and Play by Twisted Sister.
Yeah, I did.
And that had the manhole.
Yeah, which I have in my house, which I was going to show you.
Hey, I want to see that. I'm going to go to your place next time when I'm here in November.
Yeah.
What other covers?
Last Command by Wasp with the pile of dirt and all that.
That's a great one.
Yeah.
What else?
That went gold for him. Dockin' Under Lock and Key.
Oh, great one.
And, well, that was a funny one, too. If you remember the close on that, that was like, stage gear.
Their outfits.
Oh my!
It looked like women's dresses.
That's crazy.
Right?
It's like if that one album cover would stand like in a vault somewhere, like
as this was '80s rock.
I mean, it wasn't really, but it was like it didn't get any. I'm not gonna say better, but it didn't get any worse.
Right.
I think
those outfits were hilarious.
It was pretty something. But then Cinderella Night Songs.
Great record.
And I did an album cover for Autograph, and I'm the Man.
Anthrax?
Yeah, the one with the graffiti on it.
Yeah, wow.
Yeah, that's a handful right there.
The album covers make big money on that back then because there's big money in that game. Videos and album covers, all that shit.
You know what? I never even thought of money back. The money paid for the studio, and the money paid for the film, and the money paid for my assistants. So at the end of the decade, I didn't have any money.
Really?
Yeah.
Dead broke?
Well, no. I mean,
I know.
I had my investments and everything I had, but it's like you just want to brand yourself. You're so excited. You don't care if it's like, the budget only has 5 rolls of film. I'm going to shoot 20.
Right.
I don't care. And now I'm, selling it through my site and Roxy and auctions and making a living out of archiving my old photos and branding it.
Jimmy Page, you ever meet him?
No.
God.
I know. Zeppelin, that's one of my favorite bands,
Right?
It's like,
when you were shooting Zeppelin, when you were watching them, it had to be incredible, right? 77, that's the last time they come to the States.
It's magic.
They got, those 4-hour concerts and just to see that shit. There's nothing like that, Zeppelin ever again,
Yeah, the laser show, the laser show when Jimmy Page have his like the
the triangle laser. Yeah.
Crazy.
Dude, it's so good to talk to you, man.
You too.
Now we got the show on Saturday.
Yeah.
And you have a website. Let's give them that. Now, you sell photos on the website. Is it just auctioned? How's that done?
Well, I'm really pushing the auction right now. It's you can go to my regular website just to see all the events I've done. That's whiteskygallery.com.
Yeah.
And there's some photos you can buy for prints too there. It's not fully archived, but there's some handful there. But then rocksceneauctions.com is where, like right now, there's a Guns N' Roses gallery of photos from
the Ritz
and
New York
and CBGBs and all from the Appetite era that are up there. And portion goes to Why Hunger, Harry Chapin's foundation. They're very grassroots and trying to educate people on getting healthy meals.
Yeah.
So I'm partnered with them. So a portion of all the auctions go to them. I have a photographer on there now who used to be a Cream photographer, Robert Alford.
Oh yeah,
and he's got a bunch of pictures of like Sex Pistols and the Police.
Yeah.
So
I saw those. Those are crazy. Like Johnny Rotten and Police early on in those those crazy outfits and stuff.
Yeah. Baron Woolman had a gallery, had an auction site.
Baron's a great photographer, boy. He shot some great stuff.
Oh, yeah.
I'm gonna have Neil on the show also.
Yeah.
Neil Preston.
Mm-hmm. I'm just building the Rock Scene auction site. And I also have a site called rockscene.com, which I basically do interviews with people before I'm waiting for them in between a show. I'm like, all right, let me just interview people for 5 or 10 minutes.
You still shooting?
Yeah.
Well, rad.
Yeah, I just shot Zach. Zach just played.
Zach Wild.
Yeah.
And the Black Label? Zach Sabbath.
Yeah,
how great
is that? That was an awesome show. That was a couple days ago.
Who else you shot recently?
Well, I just shot Vixen for their new photos.
No shit.
Yeah, they were there.
We got to do a shoot, you and I.
Okay.
It'll be great.
Oh, I love shooting. I mean, it's you don't make the money like you used to, but I just love, it's my way of connecting with people.
You shoot digital now or film still?
All digital.
Yeah.
Digital.
What camera are you using?
I don't even know. No,
Yeah.
no, I have a Canon, a Mark III or 4 or whatever.
Yeah,
you know.
yeah.
I'm not a technical guy at all.
No shit.
I just point and shoot and twiddle things around, and hopefully I got something good.
Wow. So great to have you on, man. Any great Motley Crue story before we go? Because you interviewed the shit out of Motley Crue. Right? I mean, not interviewed. You shot the shit out of Motley Crue.
Yeah. It's Motley Crue. Yeah, I do have a good story, actually.
There's a great one on the I sent of Nicky and him and Tommy, and I thought it was like in a club or whatever, and he goes, tour bus. That's all he wrote. Tour bus.
I'm going to tell you the story on that one, actually. So I was on the tour with Ozzy, and Ozzy was, they were kind of trying to straighten him out, and, so it was kind of like it started being a sober tour on Ozzy's end. I was traveling with them for a bit. And Motley had all the girls, and it seemed like they were having all the fun. And I knew them from a few years ago when I shot them for We magazine.
Oh yeah, you shot that?
Yeah.
Oh, I know that one with the girls and the blood. Wow.
That was their first national spread.
You shot that one?
Yeah.
That's rad.
Yeah, I did. My concept was naked women and
I remember
rock stars. I did Joe Perry.
Yep.
I did Rick James. I did Hulk Hogan.
Wow.
I did Motorhead. I don't know if you ever saw that.
I remember all those, dude.
Okay, I did all of them. Yeah.
Sick.
So that was their first spread, and then, so we're friends. And I shot them at the US Festival. And then
you shot? Oh, wait a minute. You shot the US Festival one where it's just Vince and Nicky out there sitting around, right? Did you shoot that one? They're just in the back in their day clothes. Yeah.
Could be.
Yeah.
I shot them back there.
The US Festival is my dream to do a doc.
You're going to do a doc on it.
I want to do a doc on it.
Yeah,
I want to do it. I want to do it.
So, so we're on tour with Ozzy, and I said, Nicky said, why don't you come with us? We'll have some fun, I said, okay, I'm going. I asked Sharon if it's okay. She goes, yeah, have fun. And so I go on the bus. Nicky's bringing me. Tommy Lee is on the driver's side, with the steering wheel. And he's just sitting there, like, kind of grinning. And Nicky brings me on, and he kind of stops me. Tommy puts his leg out, like I can't go past that point unless I do something. I don't know what they had up their sleeve. I found out what they had up the sleeve, which was they wanted me to draw blood.
Uh-huh.
You know about the draw blood story?
No.
You don't?
No.
Oh, okay. Well, Nicky starts biting me.
Uh-huh.
And I'm like, what are you doing, dude?
Yeah.
He's like, draw blood.
Draw blood.
I'm like, what do you mean, draw blood? He goes, draw blood. And he puts his arm out, like he wanted me to bite him back.
Whoa.
I'm like, I'm not doing that.
Yeah.
And Tommy's like, just, give me that Tommy Lee smirk.
Yeah.
And 5-10 minutes go by, and my leg's bruised up. He's biting me all over. I have bruises all over.
Yeah.
Starting, and bleeding a little bit, and it started hurting.
Yeah.
So he gave me a bottle of Jack. Started drinking the Jack. To ease the pain. So that's when I first started drinking Jack. And then I remember Mick goes by us, like they let Mick in. They let Mick go through.
Yeah.
And then Mick's going, rolls his eyes like another one or something.
Another draw blood. Yeah, I'm going to my bunk.
And Vince is like, was in there in the back, and he's just kind of like giggling, like, And so eventually, I had to give in and draw blood,
Oh, so you bite him till he bleeds?
Yeah.
Whoa!
And that
That's
photo
absurd.
on the bus was like right after that. That's when I started drinking Jack Daniels, and that's when me and Mick were watching Three Stooges movies, and that's how I got my name, Weiss Guy.
No shit.
Watching. He's a Weiss Guy.
Wow.
So Mick kind of dubbed me Weiss Guy.
That's amazing. And that's when you started doing coke. All right, I get it now. What a great story. Draw blood. Man. Well, dude, I got to tell you, we need to get your website together.
Okay.
I want these photos. I want people to see them. I want them to go out and buy them. I want people to own a piece of these rock and roll history and put it in your house. There's nothing better than have a great rock photo each day you come home and you open your door and you see some great photo like, hanging in your house, and you just go, this fucking show right here is the reason I'm alive, or this is why I love rock and roll, all that,
Yeah. And, if you go on the Rock Scene Auction site, I have a photo of the Guns N' Roses and CBGBs. All you got to do is sign on the mailing list, and you can win a chance to get that, or you can bid on it.
Yeah. That is the photo.
Yeah.
I mean, well, there's not the photo. I mean, I look around here like that big old Joe Perry with the cigarette, the Dragon Pants Jimmy, you know, is just epic, man. Thanks for doing it, and I'm going to come out to your house in November.
Oh, yeah, many more stories for sure.
Yeah. And maybe we'll do a part 2 out there.
Let's do a part 2.
All right, sounds good. And come to the show. Name the place again, New York City.
It's Grit and Glory. It's on 186 Orchard Street, and it's gonna be it's gonna be an event. We're gonna have like about a half a dozen 40 by 60 inch original silkscreen artwork from the CBGBs and from my studio and from the Ritz, like a combination of those three.
So
and then there'll
rad.
be photos all around the store, like you see.
And then GNR's playing all weekend.
They're playing.
Are you going?
I'm waiting to hear back, but
Yeah.
they usually take care of me.
Yeah, do you shoot him still?
Yeah, I shot him
At Giant Stadium last year? I was there.
Oh, were you there?
Yeah, that was a good one.
Yeah. Actually, a funny story. When I started, I haven't shot Guns N' Roses, in the 2000s. Then he regrouped it.
Oh yeah,
with
yeah,
Bumblefoot
yeah.
and all that.
Yep.
So I went to the Garden to shoot, and I had a pass to shoot a few songs. I didn't ask for anything more. I just, figured I'd go in there, and at the end of the third song, Axl kind of stopped the show, and he looked at me. He goes, "Mr. Weiss."
No shit.
Yeah, he stopped. He stopped.
Whoa.
That's all he said. And I'm like, all right, I'm going to call the manager up and say, they're playing the Meadowlands the next day. Can you ask Axl if I could shoot the whole show?
Yeah.
And so that's when I started doing that. And then, they had a Canadian tour a few years ago that they hired me for.
Wow.
So, we kind of kept it up,
That's amazing.
I'm not the tour photographer, but, they give me access. They let me shoot the whole show here and there.
I love that about him. He just looks down and remembers, man. He's got to look down and just think 30 years ago, man.
Right.
We fucking blew this shit up.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it was a good feeling.
Dude, that's a great story, man. Thank you so much, and I can't wait to send me 1,000,000 photos to my house.
Sure.
We can do a museum in my house when people come over.
Yeah. We'll make it, the next gallery will be at your house.
Yeah, right. All right, guys, thanks for tuning in. Make sure you subscribe to the podcast, leave a review, and I love all you guys. Come out and see me all weekend at the Comedy Store and the Hollywood Improv. Candles are lit. See you guys.